Hey guys, welcome back. I got my coffee made and I am ready for today. Okay, so today we're gonna be doing one of my favorite things with plants, and that is propagating. I have a couple plants that I'm needing to chop up, and so I thought I would just make a whole propagation video on how I propagate and a couple methods that I use. I'll also show you what I'm currently propagating because I have a lot of different propagations in different substrates. Okay, so there is 6 different propagation methods that I'm going to talk about today that I've used, and I want to say liked, but a couple of them I'm not really a fan of. I've had success with all of them, but I definitely have like favorites and least favorites, so I'm going to rank those from least favorite to most favorite. Okay, so the first one, which is my least favorite, and I actually don't even have any with me right now, is pawn. I think that pawn is okay, but for me it's really messy and I just feel like there's better ways. I don't know, for all of you that use pawn, I'm not like hating on it, it's just not one of my favorite methods. The next method I've used, and I actually used to use a lot, but the more plants I got and the more plants I put in this, I struggled to keep up with it, and so yeah, it's leca. And I think that leca is okay, and I know a lot of people like completely convert to semi-hydro, and I think that's cool, but I just can't keep up with it, and flushing it is a total pain, and so I don't use it very much at all anymore, but I used to. Okay, the next propagation method I have used is perlite, and actually it's kind of growing on me. I used to totally hate perlite because it's so messy and it's like dusty and I just hate the way it feels. But actually, like, I had a couple cuttings that weren't rooting at all, and I put them in perlite and they started rooting. So it's kind of growing on me. That's why it's like right in the middle of my list, because I don't really know exactly how I feel about it. I have a couple plants in it right now and they're doing well. Another method that I use a lot is just water propagation, and I know like that's pretty simple and a lot of people do that, but I've had really good luck with it, and especially Hoya. I've started rooting my Hoya in water and then transferring them to a different substrate, and I've had really good luck with that. Also, Syngonium root really well in water, so that's an easy one for sure. Okay, my second favorite propagation method is fluval, which I feel like a lot of people don't know about because it is like aquarium substrate, but it already has like the nutrients in the fluval, and so I really like it, and I have had really good luck with it. I've had some plants that were like totally goners, and I put them in fluval and they just came back. I'll insert some close-ups of what it looks like up close so you guys can see it, but it's almost like pellets filled with like dirt, which actually it can be kind of messy. Like every time I have to flush it, some of the beads like break and it goes everywhere, but it's totally worth it and I absolutely love it. So my favorite propagation method is sphagnum moss, and this is the brand that I use. It's my favorite because it doesn't have any of the sticks. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. I will link that in the description so you guys can pick some up. But I just love sphagnum moss. I don't know. I feel like it's such an easy method, and I'll show you guys in a little bit how exactly I do it. But I put all of the sphagnum moss propagations in a prop box, and it's like a little environment of their own. Like it just does its own thing, and I don't have to worry about it. I will admit sometimes things will rot a little bit more in sphagnum because of airflow, and I will occasionally add perlite to my sphagnum to give a little bit of like chunky stuff to create better airflow. But I could go on for days about sphagnum moss because it's my favorite. Now we're in the kitchen so that I had like a workplace to chop some plants. So the first one I'm going to be chopping is this philodendron silver stripe, and I just want to create like a trailing plant instead of an upright plant, and it was also like bending over the top of my cabinet, so it needed to be cut. So I'm just gonna be chopping it up, and I'm gonna put it in sphagnum moss in a little prop box, and I think it will do good in there. The next one I'm going to cut is my Hoya Sunrise, and this thing has just been like a really slow grower for me since I got it. And Hoya have a tendency to start like putting out new growth points if you cut them. And also, I've always had trouble rooting these. And I don't know if it's me. I've heard other people have too. So I am going to do a little experiment, and I'm going to put it in fluval and see if maybe it will do better in fluval. So I'm going to probably take 2 cuttings off the top of that just as like a little experiment. I'll probably just put them back in the pot when they're rooted. And then I'm also going to take a top cut from my Syngonium winlandii. I don't know if I'll end up selling this one or maybe making the pot a little bit fuller, but the leaves are getting really mature on it and it's really, really pretty. So hopefully maybe I can share it with someone that is looking for one. I also had a couple more plants that I was planning on propagating in this video, but a couple of them I put on planks, and you saw that last week in my video, and I want to let them grow up the wall, so I'm trying not to cut those yet. But the main reason I wanted to do this video was so I could propagate my Hoya polyneura, because it's gotten huge. I will insert a video of it. But so yesterday when I went to get it out, it had 2 peduncles on it. So that kind of ruined my plan for cutting it, because I kind of want to see if they'll bloom. So I will try to update you guys on the blooms and if they ever fully bloom. I've never had a Hoya bloom, and I have a lot of Hoya, but a lot of my Hoya are also really immature. So I'm thinking that this coming spring will be the spring that I get a bunch of Hoya blooms. Okay, so I wanted to bring you guys real close so you could see exactly how I'm going to cut this. First, I'm just going to make sure my shears are really clean. And a funny thing about this, you guys have to let me know. Do you use straight alcohol to clean your shears, or do you dilute it? This is so funny. I didn't realize anyone did this differently until my friend Michaela from Queen City Tropicals came over here to open some imports, and she dilutes hers before she cleans her shears. So leave down in the comments which way you do it, and maybe if there's a right or a wrong. Okay, so I'm just going to be cutting this at every single node. With the exception of the top one, I'm probably gonna just leave that little top part since it's getting a new leaf. So I'm just gonna cut right there. And here's the node on these for those of you who are new to propagating plants. You can see the little aerial roots growing. Okay, and then I'm just gonna cut right here. Forgot to untie it. Okay, now you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, so these nodes are really close together, so I'm actually gonna leave 2 on that one. And then I think I'm gonna leave it at that because I love this leaf and I don't want anything to happen to it. Look at that. So pretty. Okay, that is it for the silver stripe. Next one is the Hoya Sunrise. I'm just going to clean my shears again since it's a different plant. Okay, and I'm just gonna cut this one at the node too. You can see this little aerial root growing right here. I think I'm gonna take 2 cuttings just in case one of them doesn't make it. And I think it's so weird how Hoya do this thing where they like get white foam all over them when you cut them. So weird. Okay, I think that's good for this one. All right, last one is the Syngonium monlandii, which I'm a little bit sad about. I don't know. I really like this plant, but it's really pretty, so I think I should cut it and share with other people. So, I've got to try to figure out where I want to cut this. Also, if you're scared to cut your plants, I totally understand, but just a couple tips for you. A lot of plants actually grow better after you cut them. So don't be afraid to chop your plants. Okay, so this one has a little aerial root right here, and I'm just gonna cut right under that. Okie doke. So I'm just gonna let all of those callus for a couple hours, and I'll be back to show you guys what I do with them after that. Okay, so while our propagations are callousing, I wanted to show you guys what I am currently propagating in my prop boxes and show you guys the different methods that I have going right now. Okay, so for my previous video, you can see that I keep all of my propagations, or most of them, in the top shelf of my wicker cabinet. So starting over here on the right, I have a Hoya callistophylla, and it's just propagating in water. This is another Hoya, and I'll put the name on the screen because it's kind of hard to say. But I just have it like taped so that it doesn't fall down in the water, but it is also in water too. And then over here on the other side of my prop bins, I have some alocasia bulbs. Well, one, propagating in water. And then I have a little begonia just kind of chilling in sphagnum back there. And then this one, I didn't mention this, but you can also propagate in soil, which I do not do ever unless it's peperomia. Hopefully I'll create a video on how to propagate peperomia because it's a little bit different than any other way to propagate. Oh my gosh, I can't get this open. Okay, so here's the peperomia, and you can see this one has a little new leaf coming. This is my prop bin number 1. This is where I throw all of my wet sticks, and honestly, I do not know what most of these are. And these little string of hearts, Silver Glory, I'm gonna add those to the prop bin we're working on right now. I ran out of room in my other one. I do think this one is a Philodendron melanochrysum. So that one will be cool. I have no idea what anything else is. Okay, here is my next prop box, and I've got a lot of cool stuff going in here. So this is a silver sword. This is a really pretty little Syngonium pink splash, and it has a new little leaf. This is my Anthurium magnificum hybrid that I had in my previous Anthurium video, and look, it got a new leaf, and it's starting to get the like Anthurium veining, so that's cool. This is a little stick of a Scindapsus silver hero, and I'm not sure if it's gonna make it or not, but this one is a little Alocasia black velvet. And then we have another silver sword. This is, I don't know if you guys can see this one. Let's try to take it out. This is an Amidrium silver that I grew from a wet stick. Another silver sword, Scindapsus silver princess. Oh my gosh, look at this root. It's growing right up out of there. These are sticks from my Philodendron soderoy that I chopped up. This is that Anthurium waro. It is getting a leaf, which is so exciting. And it is in fluval too. This is a jade satin Scindapsus. These are some little Silvery Ann propagations. And then that is a String of Hearts Silver Glory. So these are just my propagation bins. I will show you how I put those together with our propagations that we just took. I forgot that I had a couple of propagations in my Fabricor. So the first thing I have propagating in here is another Philodendron Soderoy from that import that I did. And then down here on the bottom, I have the Philodendron Pastazanum in Fluval. It's trying to root from when I imported it. And then I also have my little Anthurium forgetii in Fluval that I had in my previous video. And you guys, look, it's getting a new leaf too. Please focus. So cute. So that is what I have currently propagating in my Fabricor. And this is totally off topic, but look at this new leaf on my Florida Ghost. Oh, it's so pretty. I'm just finding propagations all over my house, but these are a couple water propagations I just have going in my kitchen. These are those micans I cut up in my plant chore video. And then I have a Marble Queen pothos and some Adansonii and what is the other one? Golden pothos, I think. And they are very rooted. I also just love like keeping some propagations in water around my house. I think it's so fun to see their roots grow in the water. I'm back. It has been about an hour and our propagations have calloused over. I wanted to mention that I just let my propagations callus for a couple hours, really just until there's no like sap on the stem anymore. And I just do that to reduce the risk of root rot. So I definitely recommend you let your propagations callus before putting them in whatever substrate you're going to use. So first I'm going to be putting these silver stripe in sphagnum moss. I have my moss right here. And I did add a little bit of perlite just to give it a little bit better airflow. And a little bit about sphagnum moss. So I actually reuse my sphagnum moss. Every time I take a plant out of it, I put it in a separate bin so that I know that it needs to be boiled. And then when I get enough, I just boil it on the stove for a couple minutes and then you just drain it and reuse it. And for me, it usually lasts like 2 or 3 times. And then it starts kind of like falling apart. So yeah, you can reuse it, which is really great. I don't have to buy new very much at all. I did add a little bit of new in here so you can definitely tell like what is new and what is old, but I love using sphagnum moss. And the one that I use, I'll have linked in the description, but it is definitely my favorite because it doesn't have any of those sticks in it. And it's really like long fibered. So yeah. So we're just gonna put these silver stripe in their own little prop box because I have a lot of them. I just picked this up at the Dollar Tree. Do you guys ever just like go into a store and see something and you're like, oh, that would be great for plants? Because I do that with literally everything. It drives my boyfriend crazy. We'll go in somewhere and I'm like, oh, that would be a perfect container for my plants. But anyway, so I'm just gonna fill this up about halfway with sphagnum moss and yeah. And I usually put them in their own little cups like this, but since there's so many of this, I thought I would just make them their own little prop bin to keep them all together. Okay, so now I'm just going to put each individual cutting in here, and I'm just going to make sure the aerial roots are covered by moss. Okay, so there's all of our propagations. I'm just going to put the lid on it, and these will go in the top shelf of my wicker cabinet underneath a grow light. And I will definitely keep you guys updated on when these guys are rooted. And I'm going to just pot them back up with the mother plant and make it more of a full plant. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the Hoya Sunrise, and I am going to try to propagate those in fluval because I've never had very good luck propagating these in any other method. So I've got my fluval right here, and what I do is I just rinse it before I use it. So I just put it in this cup and I fill it up with water, and I kind of like stir it around a little bit, and then I drain it. And you just want to do that until the water is clear or close to clear. And also a couple tips on how to maintain fluval. You just want to make sure that there's like condensation, or like you can see the water in the fluval in here. And as long as it looks like moist inside there, it's fine. It doesn't need like standing water or anything. So we're just going to stick those down in here. And I did them in separate containers in case one like rots or something. I wanted to make sure that they were separate so I could get accurate results. Okay, so we are just going to, I have an empty prop bin right here. Since my other one is full, we're just gonna go ahead and start a new one. And the reason I do this is just to, it creates like a little humidity dome for the plants. And it kind of like maintains itself. Like I said, I showed you my other propagations. And that's why I like it so much, is because honestly, I only check these about once a week just to like air out the container to make sure they're not rotting. And it's so easy. So the next one is the Syngonium winlandii, and it's kind of like flopping because it's been callousing. But I thought about doing this in water because Syngonium do really well in water, but I think I want to keep the humidity up on it. So I am just going to put it in the same prop bin with those Hoya. And this is how I usually propagate my plants. I put them all in their own little cup, and then I just set the cups in the prop boxes. Occasionally I will put them all in their own prop box like I did with the silver stripe if I have like a lot of them and they're all gonna like go to the same place. I also do this because I sell a lot of plants on a local Facebook group. So when they're already in their own container like this, it makes it easier just to sell them. I don't have to like separate them all. Okay, so there is that one. And I use liqui-dirt and water. Like I fertilize these with liqui-dirt. And I just make sure the sphagnum is moist, but not like sopping wet or there's like standing water. I have never talked about liqui-dirt on this channel, but I love liqui-dirt. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but I literally just love liqui-dirt. That's all I use for a fertilizer. I have used Super Thrive before, but I've had the best luck with liqui-dirt, and I love it because you can't burn your plants with it. So if you like mix it incorrectly or use too much, you won't burn your plants. And I actually fertilize all year round with it. So I never stop fertilizing. I use it every time I water. And also, it lasts forever. Like the little pouch you get is kind of expensive, but it will probably last me for 3 or 4 years. Like I can make it go a really, really long way. This is liqui-dirt. Comes in this little pouch like this. And the instructions are on the back of how you mix it, but you basically create like a mix and then you pour the mix into your water mixture. So I just put a little bit of liqui-dirt, the mix, in here with water, and I just like water my propagations like this. And so it makes it super easy. And then I'll just put it in the prop box, and I will probably fill this up with more plants. I have a couple more that could go in there. and then that will just go in my wicker cabinet. I hope to update you guys on these in a couple weeks. Hopefully they will all be rooted, but we will see. All right, guys, that is gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed propagating my plants with me and learning a new way to propagate plants. Honestly, there are so many ways to propagate plants, and whatever works for you is what I would stick to, but I hope you learned something new about propagating plants. I would love to read in the comments how you guys prefer to propagate your plants. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I would love to read through them. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Plants by Kenna.